Hey everybody, so I saw on this pretty popular podcast, it's called the Joe Rogan podcast, and Joe Rogan was playing clips. I think I'd probably play, I guess, some of his podcasts in the video, but I think his video is like monetized and everything. I guess I'll leave a link in the description and everything, but so essentially he was just saying that it was $9 trillion have gone missing. Now, it seems like there's a lot of sort of confusion around the subject, and there's a lot of people that come to false conclusions based on this concept. So, in the podcast, he was playing a clip of a guy from a CNBC interview, and they were basically just saying that the, I guess, the country is ran by the military industrial, like the good old MIC, the military industrial complex, and they were saying that that we're the world's biggest terrorists and all this and everything, and that um, like like Saddam Hussein didn't have nuclear weapons and everything or whatever. But besides all that or whatever, I just wanted to talk more about the $9 trillion that supposedly people think that have gone missing, and just the trade war with China. So I have this little magazine here that I got. It's Air Force Times. There's no planes, no problems. It says pilots to train in sims. I guess they're seeing the artificial intelligence concept that's coming, so they're training up pilots to that. And so, well, essentially, there was basically two arguments that was made in regards to how we deal with China. There's the sort of like the militaristic element of it, which is China invading, or China's military versus our military. And then there's the sort of the economic war of it, whereas China, our trade war with China, or trade war with China, and the trade and the deficit and the national debt, and just how all that works. And so a lot of people think that the $9 trillion that went missing is apparently tax dollars that were missing. But essentially, the way it works with China is that China has a savings account, and we put dollars into the savings account, and then China takes those dollars and they put it into treasuries and securities, because whenever you hold a dollar, if you hold dollars, they don't collect interest. So what China does is they basically take their dollars and they put it into securities that are collecting interest. And so this securities and all this is that's pretty much considered what the national debt is. And so to say that $9 trillion went missing, it's just, or it vanished. I think it was, the title was like $9 trillion vanishes, and that China is winning the trade war. Whereas I can't really seem to understand that, because a lot of people think that China may be winning the trade war, but we have all their stuff. So I mean, I'm not sure the angle that people think that we're losing that. I mean, there are people working in bad conditions. They work in factories and slave labor pretty much. And so I'm not sure how people seem to think that, based on this fact that we're losing some sort of economic war, and that if $9 trillion, if the $9 trillion is missing, it was a transfer to China. Like, the federal government writes checks all the time. This is called, if the federal government wanted to pay off basically the national debt, like tomorrow, they just could, and then every dollar in your pocket would just be worthless, because essentially the way it works is there's 27 to, well, I'm not sure what the national debt is now. It's probably, I think the last time I checked was like 30 trillion or something. And I think it just doubles every couple years. And so essentially the way it works is, like, if there was a national debt, it would basically, the national debt is just the stuff that we basically hold. So if they paid off the national debt tomorrow, everybody's money would pretty much just be worthless. But anyway, so we have this little article here. It says Biden's plan to what does that say? Biden's plan or president's plan to tackle Russia, China, and nuclear deterrence. So the Biden administration has laid out a national defense strategy aimed at China, which it views as America's most consequential strategic competitor, and Russia, which it sees as an acute threat capable of cyber and missile attacks on the U.S. Okay, Beijing's growing military strength in the Asia Pacific region. So I know China's basically been putting a lot of pressure on Australia. And so to say that Australia is, I mean, I think that's more of a technological war because I think Australia has a lot of, I think they manufacture, or there's some sort of microprocessor, I think that they manufacture. And so the national, the national defense, the NDS bluntly describes Russia as an acute threat, and we chose the word acute carefully. So, unlike China, Russia can't systemically challenge the United States over the long term, but Russian aggression does pose an immediate and sharp threat to our interests and values. And so, Russia and China, so essentially, China, that's more the militaristic side of the war. And then, so the economic side of the war, like what this guy was saying on CNBC, is that $9 trillion has gone has gone missing. And so, essentially, the national debt is the amount of US dollars in existence that hasn't been taxed yet. So so essentially the way it works is the government spends money before they collect taxes. This is this is an analogy like if you were to build if you were to like take a house and build a house, you'd have to start with pouring in the concrete. And so that's pretty much the function of how it works systemically works is the federal government basically pours in the concrete first and then they take out the concrete later. And so to say that $9 trillion has gone missing from an everyday occurrence they're writing checks like that every single day. This happens every single day. Is just kind of a little bit misinformed. And so I think that was just about it. Just the national debt and China's economic and political war. I think I mainly covered the economic war and the economic side of it and how more of the economic side of it, how $9 trillion just went vanished and missing. But that's about all. See you guys later.